In my life, I've had the privilege of spending time with really interesting and successful people in their respective fields, whether it's crypto or whether it's e-commerce or whether it's some sort of consulting business or YouTubers or whatever. And they seem to live life in a very different way. They sort of in a way play life on easy mode. And of course, rightfully, they have worked really hard and earned a lot of money and have structured their life to where they have a sense of freedom, or they have a deeper sense of freedom to be able to do what they want, freedom to be able to go where they want, freedom to be able to have what they want. And I find that with that freedom comes a lot of excitement, with that freedom comes a lot of fulfillment, with that freedom comes a lot of an ability to express oneself on a level in which they truly want to be able to express themselves. However, just because you're able to travel and be free doesn't mean that you don't have a host of problems that come with that. And one of the biggest problems that I've seen with the clients that I've worked with in the past and currently work with is their challenge with relationships. Now, when you have a lot of money, it changes the way in which you think. And I've been told from other people, but also from my observation, is that money doesn't necessarily change you per se. It amplifies what's already inside of you. Now, it can change you, and the power that comes with money certainly does change you, but it doesn't necessarily encourage you to be more emotionally intelligent. In fact, I've actually found that money has shielded the people that I've worked with from assuming a deeper sense of emotional and personal responsibility, because they can just wave their money around and fix all the problems and then they're gone. And I find that a lot of the men that I've worked with that are very successful, that are very entrepreneurial, that do have this kind of jet-setter lifestyle, they're quite lonely. And it's difficult for them to be able to have long-term relationships with really good, honest women. Their money becomes their biggest bargaining chip. The freedom of their lifestyle becomes their biggest bargaining chip. Their clout becomes their biggest bargaining chip. And as a result of this, what happens is that they will lead with the flights. They'll lead with the purses. They'll lead with the fancy dinners. They'll lead with the Instagram that has thousands and thousands of followers. And that's cool, that's interesting, and that's fun, and I'm not dismissing that that's something that you should do. But you have to be aware that if that's what you're leading with, this is the type of women that you're going to attract. You're going to attract women that only want you for your money, that only want you for your resources, that only want you for the lifestyle that you are going to give to them. Their attention, their love, their interest becomes conditional. And because society has conditioned you into saying that as a man, you are only valuable based on what you can give or what you can provide, men hyperfixate on that type of facet about themselves. And when they go out into the world and they show up like that, guess what? They're going to attract women that only value those kinds of things. Or a lot of the men that I've worked with, they seem to attract these women that have this very vapid personality. They're very boring. They're very one-dimensional. They're only focused on their looks. They're only focused on how they show up on camera. They're only focused on sort of being the arm candy and the side piece of the man that they are interested in being with. And different cultures focus a lot on this. I find, for example, in like Latin America and Colombia, they like this kind of dynamic. In the Balkan countries where I am right now in Montenegro, they focus on a lot of this dynamic as well. I would say developing countries very much focus on this type of transactionary type of relationship. And I would say all types of relationships are transactionary in the sense of if you're not giving a specific amount of value, you lose that friendship. All transactions, all values are based on, all transactions and all friendships are based on an exchange of value. And that's just the factor, that's just the fact of how that works. But the men that I've worked with, they are always lamenting all the time about how lonely they are, how used they feel. And then I come to find that the majority of the women that they're interacting with are escorts, or they're high-end escorts, actually, or they will use like Tinder Plus or whatever, or millionaire matchmakers. And the fact is that the premise or the basis of that way of approaching relationships is leading with your greatest asset, which is your wealth, which is your assets, which is your lifestyle. And again, what you're going to come to find time and time again is that what you lead with is what you attract. So in my past relationships, when I didn't have a lot of money, when I didn't have a lot of freedom, I was leading with what I valued most about myself, which was my heart, which was my compassion, which was my insights, which is my ability to serve, which is my ability to give back to society, to give back to the world. I didn't lead with something I didn't have. And when society tells you that you need to have money and you need to have resources in order to be valuable, and then when you finally get those things, guess what? You're going to start leading with those things. But as a result of only focusing on making tons of money and growing a business and developing your character, per se, your muscles or your status or your clout or whatever, only focusing on developing the external facets of yourself, you're only going to be valued for the external facets of yourself. And then when you come to meet face to face with the type of woman that you actually want to be with, the woman that actually loves you for who you are, the woman that has care and compassion and loyalty and a desire to collaborate and work together to build something beautiful with you, you're not actually going to find those women because you haven't developed that part about yourself. You haven't developed the emotional and the intellectual and the spiritual faculties that make that type of woman attractive. Because when you do meet those kinds of women, you'll come to find that your lifestyle or what you have or what you do or your job title is secondary to your character. And when those men, those successful men, go to meet those escorts, they get angry and they get mad. They're like, why does this woman only want me for my money? Why does this woman not want to be a woman? Why does she not want to cook and clean and be the emotional heart of our relationship, just like very traditional standard relationships? It's because the destination on how you got to that woman wasn't clear. You subconsciously assumed that you wanted those things and yet projected into the world something completely different. And as a result, you got what you actually didn't want. And then men will think that, oh, well, if I just give a woman money or if I give a woman handbags or I just pay for her nails or I take her on all these amazing vacations or whatnot, then she's going to change. Then somehow magically she's going to submit and become this amazing woman that I want to have, being how I want her to be. And money and gifts and conditions or things that you physically give to her, they will very seldom change her character. Much like money clouds you from making emotional decisions, because when you're in a business, you cannot be emotional about money. You cannot be emotional when it comes to making business decisions. Much like money clouds you from making those emotional decisions, it's also going to cloud you from looking in and doing the inner work. Because when you're broke and you have nothing, you really have to go within and ask yourself, why am I in this position? How did I get in this place? Why did I find myself in this very challenging situation? And it forces you to change your character. It forces you to become more compassionate with yourself. It forces you to get real with yourself. It forces you to do the inner, deeper work in order to get what you truly want. And real, deep, amazing, meaningful, intimate relationships have nothing to do with transactionary relationships. They have nothing to do with that. In fact, when you really are introduced to a real woman, a truly embodied, feminine, emotionally intelligent, advanced, conscious woman, she's going to challenge you on levels that you could not have even imagined as possible. Not challenged as in like, oh, she's going to bitch and moan at you and nag, but challenged in the sense of like she will act as a mirror to you to show you what you're lacking in terms of the depth of the expression of the character in which you can show up as. And she will act not only as a nag, but as a muse to inspire you to become better. And approaching relationships, approaching woman as a transaction, will never actually satiate you when it comes to your relationships. And time again, the clients that I come across, they don't get this because it is a realm and a territory that they're very, very uncomfortable with. Men that are very successful are very comfortable with making business decisions, making power moves, being decisive, being authoritative, being discerning about how to make good moves for their business. But women aren't a business. Humans are not a business. Yeah, your employees are part of your business. They're cogs in the wheel of the empire that you've built, but your relationship is not part of your business. Now, the woman that you date, the woman that you ultimately marry, will ultimately be one of the biggest determining factors about how successful you are in your life. But you have to consider that if you approach your business, if you approach your woman like you do your business, it will always feel empty. It will always feel transactionary. There will always be problems because you can't manipulate a woman into doing what you want and feel good about it and make her feel safe and make you feel safe and make you feel moral and ethical about it. It will always be about trying to control her through your assets. So what do we do about this? What do we do about finding the types of women that actually embody the woman that you want to have in your relationship? I'm not saying give up your money. I'm not saying give up your business. I'm not saying give up your lifestyle. What I am saying is look inside and ask yourself, what makes a woman really feel safe? What makes a woman feel very magnetic to you? What makes a woman open up into her feminine essence to truly come into alignment with a deeper actualization of fulfillments? Well, I would say emotional and spiritual intelligence, developing that, becoming aware of your emotions when they arise, becoming friends with them, utilizing them as a tool rather than something that you suppress, communicating deeper, learning about love languages, learning about purpose and your spirit and why you're here as a human, how you can be of deeper love, how you can be of a deeper, more exciting expression of yourself on an emotional and a financial and a spiritual and a physical level, striving for the highest of highs, inviting somebody into your life that wants to share and express that with you as well. Diving into your mind, diving into your heart through meditation, through psychedelics, through mentorship, through coaches, exploring what's possible for you in your internal world. Because the deeper that you can become more intimate within yourself, the more comfortable and okay you can become with you, the deeper your relationships and the more meaningful your relationships will be with other people. Your relationships feel boring and one-dimensional because you're boring and one-dimensional. How can you find an interesting and insightful and loving and heartfelt person if you're not that yourself? Just because you have an inked up passport, just because you have big O's in your bank account, just because you're posting another photograph of you in some amazing bar or some amazing club, doesn't make you an interesting and insightful and heart-based, service-oriented person. And if you lead with love, if you lead with service, if you lead with truth, if you lead with values, if you lead with meaning in your life and in every relationship you have, guess what? You're going to find those similar people as well. So take the time to go into yourself. Take the time to explore what makes you uncomfortable. Take the time to explore the challenges or the traumas that you faced when you were a child. Take the time to explore what makes you uncomfortable or what makes you afraid and become friends with that. Because on the other side of all of those things, it's what's going to help you step into a deeper state of peace, a deeper state of meaning, a deeper state of expression of who you can be. And that type of man is what's going to attract amazing women. Physically beautiful women and emotionally and spiritually beautiful women. Because when I started on this path, I found both. I found the freedom. I found the excitement. I found the expression. I found all the freedom that everybody wants to have externally and internally. And as a reflection of that, I found women that embody that more. Now, there were a whole lot less of them, a whole lot less of them. And you might feel very lonely, and you might feel very disappointed at sometimes with how few these people are. But the beauty is that when you do find those people, the excitement, the connection, the meaning, the joy, the love, the expansiveness is so much bigger because you know that they've done the inner work because you've done the inner work. And making a lot more money isn't the inner work. Showing off your lifestyle isn't the inner work. Going inwards is the inner work. So, with that being said, you can keep living this life. You can keep trying to find high-end escorts. You can keep trying to DM a bunch of people that have a bunch of clout and show up as this boss couple or whatever, or however you think that you need to do it. But at the end of the day, if you don't do the inner work on yourself, if you don't actually explore and ask yourself, why am I not meeting these people naturally? Why is this not happening naturally? When you start asking yourself those questions and you get the answer and the result in your heart and your mind, and you explore that and you go deep into it and you come to the wisdom as to what that challenge is, when you do that, that's when those people will show up in your life. I promise you. I promise you. For the past 2 months, I've gone to at least 8 different countries with the project that I'm working on. And almost every one of those countries that I've been to, I have met those types of people. I've met those beautiful, expansive, heart-based, service-oriented, feminine women. Almost every place that I've been to. Why? Because I knew that by doing the inner work on myself and by physically going to the places in which those people congregate, there would be a higher percentage and likelihood of me meeting those people. And that's what you have to do too. By showing up in a city and showing up to clubs and popping bottles and taking pictures of yourself in the club, or by showing off all your wealth and your success, you will never attract those types of women. But by going to events where people have an open heart, where they're talking about ideas, where they're talking about expansiveness, where they're talking about service, where they're talking about the new earth and new consciousness and a new way of being and showing up as the highest expression of the human that you can be, that is when you're going to find the types of women that you want to be around. But you have to be in resonance with those types of women in the first place. If those types of people annoy you, if those types of people scare you, if those types of people bore you, guess what? You're not going to find good people. You're not going to find exciting women. You're not going to find loving, heart-based relationships. You won't. You have to go on the inner journey. And that's what I help these men do. I help men like you that have all the money, that have all the success, that have all the freedom to be able to travel wherever the hell they want to go, to actually find deeper, more meaningful relationships with women and with friends. Because if you're just hanging out with a bunch of people that are only concerned about their clout, that are only concerned about the external expression of what it means to be successful, then you're only going to get so far. Your relationships are only going to get so exciting. And you will live a very unfulfilled life. The world will be an expression of excitement and freedom, and you'll have clout, and you'll be jet-setting everywhere, but deep, deep, deep down inside, you're going to be empty, you're going to be lonely, and you're going to be sitting in your apartment wondering why I'm so angry and why I'm so lonely. I can't tell you how many men that I've worked with that have said this exact same expression. They're like, I thought I had it all. When I was looking out of my penthouse on the city and I just called the most beautiful escort into my house to have sex with me, and I was smoking my joint, drinking my cognac, looking out over the city, I felt nothing. I felt empty. And you would think that that's the pinnacle and the expression of the excitement of life. But it's not. It's part of it, but it's not. The real depth, the real meaning, the real love, the real relationships that you actually want to have come from doing the inner work. And all relationships that actually have meaning, that actually have depth, are not based on just exclusive transactionary metrics. It's based on love. It's based on service. It's based on a desire to be the best you for other people so that everybody can come to a deeper state of empowerment and meaning and self-expression. That is how you're going to find those relationships. And if you're still struggling with that, I get it. It's scary. The journey and the challenge is very scary because there's no blueprint. There's no guidebook on how to do that. Just like how you succeeded in your business, just like how you made a lot of money and were able to find the sense of freedom, I'm sure you struggled and suffered a lot. I certainly did. And so it's best to learn from people that have gone through this journey. It's best to learn from people that are struggling with, well, I should say, it's best to learn from people that have struggled with that and have overcome it and have come to a deeper state of peace and actualization. And that's what I want to offer to you. Because as a successful man that wants the best out of life in every facet, that's your birthright. And I want to show you how to do that. So click the link in the bio and we'll set up a time and I'll show you how. Because that's what it means to be alive. To have the best internally and externally.